Welcome to today's episode of High Performance by the Word. You know, we've been looking at, for the past episodes, we've been showcasing individuals who have exhibited distinct capabilities. And remember what we said, that is the ability to manage effectively resources available to you with the intention of creating a competitive edge or advantage or leadership edge for yourself. We've been talking with Chris Iyama, and today we'll continue talking with Chris Iyama, but we're going to be looking at some very, very, very beautiful and key things he has to talk about. But that will be after come back from this break. Welcome. Yes, I want to again welcome Chris Iyama to today's show. Chris, you're welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Sam, for having me again.
Thank you, and thank you for distinguishing yourself and exhibiting some very distinct capabilities. You know, the last time you were on the show, we focused on the challenges impacting on youths in Africa and some third world nations. But today, we want to hear a lot more from you on how you overcame the same challenges as a young person, because you live in Africa, particularly Nigeria. You faced the same severe challenges we talked about then, but you were able to take advantage, because sometimes people do not realize they have resources, but you were able to focus on the resources available to you. You understand? Effectively managing these resources and producing for yourself a competitive edge. So now I would like you to talk to our viewers what you have done. What were the motivations? How come you realized you had resources available to you when many didn't realize there were resources available to them? And you came up with what you're doing now and the impact you've made so far and the things that you intend to do still.
Thank you again, Pastor Sam, for having me on the program High Performance by the Word. I remember vividly sometimes in 2008, I listened to Pastor for the very first time. Pastor, our dear man of God, Pastor Chris Iyama, PhD, had visited Abuja for a Higher Life conference, about 3 days conference, sometimes in 2008. As at that time, I was nowhere to be found in the ministry. I had restrictions from my family because I was still in secondary school then, and I couldn't, nobody gave me the opportunity to make my own choice or have my own decision. So one of those days, I sneaked out of the house because I remember the song, those people that did, that promoted the Higher Life conference. I remember that song. Maybe I should sing it. Yes. You know, it's higher life again, it's higher life again, it's higher life again with Pastor Chris. You know, the song and the community where I was living at that time in Abuja, everywhere had posters, banners, flyer, everything talking about the Higher Life conference with the man of God, Pastor Chris. Before that time, I've been watching Pastor Chris on TV station, Atmosphere for Miracles. I think later on they stopped that program until when somehow I sneaked out of their house for the second day for that program, dear God, Pastor said something that I will never forget, and that has been my guiding principle. Pastor said, your mind is your capital.
Wow.
Pastor said, your mind is your capital. And the way Pastor talked about that particular subject, I've never heard anyone speak that way before, saying that your mind is your capital. The program was not for young people, but Pastor took out time addressing the issues of young people. I remember Pastor in that Higher Life conference in Abuja talked about that Africa, people see Africa as a land of diseases, a land of death, and a land of this. Pastor talked a whole lot. Pastor said, but let me tell you, young people, that you are here. Your mind is your capital, and you can change the status quo.
Wow.
You can make the difference.
Wow.
For the very first time, I listened to messages beyond the normal cliches of religious connoting. Yes. you know. And I remember going, and it was in that particular engagement too that I was filled with the Holy Ghost. Nobody laid hands on me. Pastor said, right now the Holy Ghost is going to come upon you. You're going to do mighty things. So when I lifted up my hands, I spoke in tongues voraciously. So when I got home, of course, they had locked the gate that I was not going to come inside. But those words that I heard Pastor saying, because I didn't want to. Pastor again said in that particular conference, he said, don't park in the parking lot where your parents parked.
Wow.
So that particular thing alone, those words alone changed my mindset. I wasn't comfortable of my dad's state or of my parents' state, so I desired to make a difference. My dad, good, in the eyes of the world, he's successful. But after listening to Pastor, I found out that that is not the kind of success that the man of God was referring. You know, I wanted something more because Pastor said, don't park in the parking lot where your parents parked. And as at that time, the life of my dad too was not that kind of inspiring. So there is nothing for me to learn, you know. But after listening to Pastor, I made up my mind that I was going to be the difference. I was going to change everything that I was going to. My voice, Pastor said, make your voice count. Don't leave this world as though you did not exist. Pastor said, make your voice count. Make your moment count in this world. And that people should remember you for something. Pastor talked a whole lot. So I was still being restricted from going to church or attending the Christ Embassy church or churches around that time. But something happened in 2009 because I left secondary school at the age of 15. That was when I graduated from secondary school.
Wow.
And so
that's SS3.
Yes, SS3. That's when I finished. So I didn't want to sit at home, and that's then I engaged with some of these local NGOs as volunteers because then I used to go out. Then in secondary school, I was the president of Anti-AIDS Club, that is Education as a Vaccine Against AIDS. I was the president of Press Club. But when I listened to Pastor, I found out that I could do something more than what I've been doing.
Yes.
And so I volunteered with a particular political party, as at that time in Nigeria, a leading political party. I would go there to photocopy meetings of their board meetings. For the very first time, I don't know whether I should mention the name of the party,
no,
but there's no point.
Yes.
So I volunteered my time. As at that time, the party was in office,
yes.
You know, so I had access to sensitive documents even at 15, 16.
Yes.
You know, I would see some of the top party executive and top ministers coming in for meetings. I would be sent, do this, do that. As a young lad, I didn't want that thing to just stop there. So, but I was still being restricted, you know. So when I got admission for my diploma to study diploma in law in the University of Jos, wow, it was an awesome experience in 2009 and 2010. So when I came on campus, I had to locate the nearest Believers Love Word because I didn't want that restriction to come, because no one is restricting me any longer.
Yes.
Here I am, a life of my own, free to make choices and decisions. I engaged in the campus ministry and started listening to Pastor more, listening to Pastor's tape messages, and Pastor kept on. I listened to a particular message then, I think Theory of Nations.
Yes.
Theory of Nations. That message changed my mindset as a young African leader. That was when I really believed that, yes, change is really possible if only we want to make it happen. And from that time till now, I've been so committed. I remember in school, between my diploma and my degree, in fact, just to mention this, that because of the way I was so consistent in the kind of things that I was doing, when I gained admission for the normal degree, the school, the program, I couldn't catch myself going for lectures morning till night. So at the point, I left. I said, no, I think there is National Open University. Perhaps I'm going to, because I don't want this, and that really gave me a lot of time to pursue a lot of things that I wanted to do. I remember even as a diploma student, I will engage the SUG people, mobilize them, and say, come. Nothing concerns the diploma student with the normal school calendar or their school fees, but I will ask myself, why would this thing be like this? So the reason will be, Chris, this thing you said is right. Nobody knew I was even a diploma All they knew was that they used to see me in the faculty of law.
I mean, they didn't know you were not yet a regular
Yes,
student.
they didn't know I was not yet a regular student, but for the fact that they were always seeing me with the normal black and white uniform, there at the law faculty, oh, this one. So that was when I was even made the chief of staff to the SUG president, not even minding.
Mind you, SUG means Students' Union Government.
Yeah.
So he was made the chief of staff to the Student
to the
Union president.
So I was made the chief of staff. Any person who wants to see the SUG president must have to see me first. Tell me the things you want. You know, SUG is a glorified leadership position in the school system. You have the right to dictate whatever you want to see on campus. So from that point, we started doing a whole lot together within the Student Union Government. I remember at a particular point, we led a protest. The SUG president disappeared, but as a chief of staff, I told myself, there is nothing to lose. After all, I'm a diploma student, not a regular student. So that really gave me that boldness. When other people backed out, we mobilized over 500 university students within the University of Jos to block this, the federal road. Why? Because we had these people always killing students back then. At the cause of the crisis, some hoodlums, you know, they will invade the hostel community and kill students, murder them, stab them, and the rest. So we felt, no, this thing cannot continue like this. If the federal government and the school authority cannot provide security for us, we should provide security for ourselves. For good 24 hours, we locked down the Bauchi Jos Road because no car passed. Several top government functionaries that wanted to, we said no until they address this particular issue. Lo and behold, the governor by himself, as at that time, when we had this engagement, walked down to that place and addressed us. That was when, for the very first time, I was shaking the hands of a sitting governor because of the things that we did. Mind you, I was still not a regular student as at that time.
Yes.
You know, so the passion continued. I want to see change. I cannot listen to pastor and remain the same again. But again, I said I need to divert this energy to a positive energy.
Yes.
It's not about the protest now. It's about engaging constructively on issues.
Wow. Engaging constructively on issues. You said something, you never wanted to kill the passion. You wanted it to continue. But this time, you wanted to begin to engage in constructive issues. We'll be right back to hear more from Chris Iyama as he challenges the rest of us, and especially the young people in several countries in the world. Do not change that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, and we're having a very beautiful here with Chris Iyama. He told us that he wanted to continue with the passion, but not just continue with the passion the way he had always run with it, but this time he wanted to engage in a lot more constructive and positive ways. So, Chris.
Yeah, engaging constructively now, this I had to mobilize some group of young people that shares the same vision and passion. You remember vividly, as at that time, 2011, 2012, the crisis in Jos was so much. and lots of young people lost their lives in that crisis. So we need to come up with an idea that will engage more students or more young people in solving the security issues. So we had a workshop or symposium known as back to the table dialogue with young people, where even top government officials came, policy makers came, and we really identified the challenge of the kind of crisis we're having in Jos, and that was where we were able to drive home our message. But going further, I remember then we used to pray at the basketball court. Because Pastor said it is from where you are to the rest of the world. So each time myself and my colleagues will go to the basketball court, we'll pray in tongues voraciously, we'll say to ourselves, it is from Jos to the rest of the world. I remember having my first TV interview sometimes in 2013. I was called upon by NTA because they saw some of the things that we're doing, and they invited me to Abuja, and they said, come, let's interview you. Why are you doing this? So for the very first time.
The NTA, for your information, is the Nigerian Television Authorities. That is the national television. Invited him for an interview, a talk in 2013, and that's what it's talking about.
Yeah, so when I was invited for that program, I really talked about some of the challenges, the peace, the crisis, and I berated some authorities that have not been doing well in terms of improving the security architecture as at that time in Jos. And that message was heard loud and clear. And after then, I started getting a lot of invitations to attend workshops on policies by United Nations Development Program, UNDP, UFPA, United Nations Fund for Populations, and World Health Organization, that is WHO, UNICEF, from Jos, Abuja, Lagos, Kano, Maiduguri. I remember the first time I got the opportunity to travel outside this country. That was, I think, sometimes in 2014 in Ghana, to attend a youth consultative dialogue on policy formulation for young people. I was the only one selected from the city of Jos to attend that particular conference and to represent Nigeria for that particular conference.
Wow.
So while at the conference, I got a lot of contact, synergy, partnership. A lot of people became interested in the things that we're doing. I was then being consulted to develop papers on some emerging issues, trends that young people face, a lot of crises that young people face, and which I will always do that constructively. And from then, I remember we worked on a document called the Nigerian Youth Agenda. That particular agenda was launched in 2014, just before the 2015 general elections. That particular document led to the secession, or led to the movement Not Too Young to Run campaign, because we identified issues that is lacking within young people participating in democratic governance and political issues. And so when we finished, that document was launched, and by Yaga, at the end of the day, we continued from there. And do you know that since that time, it's either, I remember because of the things we're doing, I remember I got a nomination from the Commonwealth graduate schools in Dubai to be given a honorary doctorate degree in strategic policies and governance.
Wow.
I got that honorary doctorate degree in Dubai sometimes last year. I got that, and then a fellowship from the United Nations Federation for World Peace as an ambassador, in 2017. And then in 2016, I was listed among young Nigerian achievers for 2016, top 100, And of course, because of that, again, I was privileged to be nominated for the Future African Leaders Award, an initiative of our dear man of God, Pastor Chris Akilime, PhD, to be among the 10 top 10 recipients of the Fala Award. And since then, I've been having lots of international engagement, I was listed by Equity International to observe the South Africa's election that was held on May, in the month of May 8 precisely, where I equally had privilege of meeting with other world leaders. I met with different world leaders in South Africa. We engaged strategic partnership that is still yielding results. And that is because I decided to engage issues constructively, other than the ways, because people listen to someone who want to engage them constructively, not just by making noise.
Yes.
So after the noise, come up with ideas. So it's not just good enough to criticize the system. When you finish criticizing, come up with solutions. What do you think we can do to change the system, to change the status quo? Because all over the world, the world is in their need of change and in their need of solution. So when you see people coming up with solutions, those are the people that the world respect, other than pulling down and criticizing the system. You know, in going forward, I really want to talk to young people that nothing is impossible for you to do if you put your mind and your soul, spirit, and body to say you want to achieve it. As young Christians, it's important that you get back to the word, to understand what the word says about you, not what the word says about you, but rather what the word of God says about you. Remember what our demon of God says, that your mind is your capital. Can you think about it? If you can think about it, it is possible. Someone said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So you've got to take that bold step. I refuse to allow your back to be on the ground. Challenge yourself. You can be the only voice in your community, in your country, whatever place you are coming from. You can be that voice because you have been created to be that voice. You can add value. Refuse to be a nuisance. Because in you, God has deposited a lot of excellent spirit to ensure that the world becomes a better place. So remember, if you don't think for yourself, somebody else will think for you and make you to act or to behave like what they have made you to think about. So the best thing is for you to start creating value. Until you create value, you are not respected in this world, especially from this part of the world where we are coming from in Africa. Remember, we can make the difference. It is possible if only you take that bold step today. So I challenge you, strive for excellence and ensure that you make your world a better place.
Wow. Wow. That is Chris Iyama. And if you've heard him, I must say you surely have been inspired, because I have been greatly inspired. Is someone who has created that competitive advantage for himself. And all he did was what? Managing effectively the resources available to him. You have resources available to you. If you will manage them effectively, if you harness all of the resources, you might think there is nothing. There is. There are people available to you. There's information available to you. Then importantly, he said your mind is your capital. Your mind doesn't belong to someone else. Your mind is with you. So if your mind is with you, is enough resources to manage effectively, to produce for yourself that competitive edge. So like Chris Iyama has said, the world is at your feet. Whatever you want to achieve, you can achieve. You can create that unique competitive advantage for yourself. Again, I want to say thank you very much,
Thank you, Pastor Sir.
Chris Iyama. It's been a pleasure talking with you and hearing the beautiful things you've shared with us today. I'm sincerely inspired, and I believe everyone that has listened to you has been and has watched you has been greatly inspired. Thank you very much. There is nothing impossible to the one who dares to believe. I would like at this time to recommend beautiful materials on our Pastor Chris Digital Library, the PCDL. Go on the PCDL platform and you'll be amazed. And the beautiful thing about the PCDL is that it is categorized, it's grouped into several topics. If you want things on development, faith, name it, you'll find beautiful messages there. The Christian lifestyle, materials on faith, materials on prosperity and finance. Everything you will ever want in your life, you'll find on the Pastor Chris Digital Library. Then also take advantage of Pastor Chris's books, Power of Your Mind, Recreating Your World, Prophecy, several materials that will build and develop you, and that will also help in settling and establishing the mind, which is your capital. Take advantage of these materials and you'll be on a roller coaster ride of success. God bless you. Looking forward to seeing you again. Ciao. Welcome to Performance Corner. Today your take home is teamwork. Teamwork. What is teamwork? This is simply the efficient and effective collaboration of a selected group of people to achieve shared goals or outcomes. I'll take that again. Simply, it is the efficient and effective collaboration of a selected group of people to achieve shared goals or outcomes. This is teamwork. And in the place of teamwork, there's a lot of synergy. People come together to contribute skills to get a better outcome, a better output in any shared task. Teamwork is very essential for group success, business success, or any form of human success. This is your take home for today. God bless you.